The vast palace of the Jarkal Empire shone like a jewel under the twin suns. Its golden spires reached high into the purple sky, and every surface gleamed with intricate carvings. The city surrounding it buzzed with ships, drones, and alien creatures of every shape and size. To most, this palace was the heart of the galaxy's power. To the humans arriving today, it was a place filled with suspicion, arrogance, and dangerous traditions. The human representative, a man named Elias, walked calmly through the marble corridors. He carried no weapons, no armor, and wore simple formal clothing. Yet every step he took carried confidence. His dark eyes scanned the halls with quiet attention, noticing the subtle gestures of servants, the direction of guards, and the eyes of the courtiers. For centuries, humans had been considered weak, fragile, and unworthy. Most alien species thought humans existed only by luck, yet the Jarkal Empire had agreed to a political marriage with this human. Its queen, Lyra, had been ordered by the council to secure an alliance with humanity to prevent war. To her, Elias seemed ordinary, unremarkable, and almost unimpressive. When the queen first saw him, she felt nothing unusual. He was calm, polite, and deferential, a perfect servant for diplomatic appearances. But she did not know him, and neither did anyone else in her court. The first meeting between them was a quiet affair in the grand hall. Crystal chandeliers cast bright light on the marble floor. Alien nobles and generals filled the hall, whispering in their strange musical languages. "Is that the human?" one courtier murmured, his long fingers tapping the table. "Yes," another replied. "They say humans are weak. He looks so small, so fragile." Lyra ignored them at first, focusing on the human before her. Elias bowed politely, his posture perfect, his expression unreadable. There was no arrogance, no fear, only quiet attention. Lyra offered a polite greeting. "Welcome to the Jarkal Palace." "I hope your journey was comfortable." Elias inclined his head. "It was, thank you, Your Majesty." His voice was soft, calm, and steady. There was no fear, no excitement, only focus. A noble snickered, loud enough for the room to hear. "Comfortable. He speaks like a child." The laughter spread among some of the court, and a few of the generals looked down at their claws or hands in amusement. Elias said nothing. He only smiled faintly and nodded, his calmness unshaken. The queen's advisors, however, were worried. "Your Majesty," one whispered, "this human may seem harmless, but we must remember, humans are said to survive impossible conditions. They are clever, but still he may not match our standards." Lyra only raised an eyebrow. "He may survive, yes, but he is no warrior. Look at him, he is quiet, small, ordinary." The human's ordinariness became a topic of amusement in the court. Alien warriors flexed their muscles or displayed their strength, hoping to intimidate him. "Let's see if he can handle our traditions," one sneered. That evening, the formal dinner began. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the room. Some had 6 arms, others had glimmering eyes that could see in complete darkness. A few towered over Elias twice his height. The dinner was a ritual, with complex rules of etiquette. Aliens expected him to fail, to offend, or at least to appear weak. Yet Elias moved with grace. He used utensils correctly, he followed the timing of each course, and he responded to conversation politely. Even when a warlord loudly insulted humanity, calling them fragile creatures who can barely walk on high-gravity worlds, Elias did not respond with anger. Instead, he leaned back slightly, observed the speaker, and maintained his calm. The insult was meant to humiliate, but the human silence only created curiosity. The queen watched closely. "Is he unafraid?" she whispered to her aide. "Yes, Your Majesty, it is unusual," the aide replied. Later, the warlord moved closer to test him. "Human," he said, his voice like a growl, "do you think you can survive here, in my presence? Show me your strength or admit your weakness." Elias looked at him steadily. "I am not here to fight without reason. But if challenged, I will respond." His tone was calm, almost polite. The room fell silent. Aliens were not used to humans who did not react with fear, aggression, or nervousness. They expected anger, trembling, or flinching. Instead, the human remained composed. Lyra could feel her interest growing. Something about this human was different. He did not look like a threat. He did not look extraordinary, yet his calmness suggested a depth she could not read. The first formal challenge was scheduled in the palace arena the next day. It was designed to humiliate him. A well-known alien warrior, a massive figure named Jarker, would face him. Jarker was a veteran of hundreds of battles, and his claws alone could crush stone. The queen watched from the balcony above the arena. The alien nobles had gathered, eager to see the human fail. Cameras recorded every angle, projecting the event across the empire. When Elias entered the arena, there was a murmur among the crowd. He carried nothing but his formal robes and his calm presence. Jarker roared, flexed, and swung a clawed arm, expecting the human to falter. But Elias did not move backward. He studied the warrior. He noticed patterns in the movement, the way the claws swayed, the angle of attack. He did not panic. He waited. The first strike came. Hard, fast, brutal. Elias dodged with precision, stepping lightly to the side. A murmur rose among the crowd. Jarker struck again, faster this time, trying to overwhelm him. Elias reacted the same way, calm, precise, unshaken. He did not counter yet. He only observed. The alien warriors in the audience were shocked. No human had ever survived this. Even the queen leaned forward, her curiosity deepening. After several attacks, Elias acted. Not with rage, not with brute strength, but with exact technique. He used the momentum of Jarker's attacks against him, redirecting energy, avoiding harm, and gradually pushing the warrior off balance. The crowd gasped. The alien warriors whispered among themselves. Some could not believe what they were seeing. The human, ordinary in appearance, was not only surviving, he was controlling the fight. Finally, with a precise move, Elias disarmed the warrior. Jarker stumbled and fell. The arena fell silent. The queen's eyes widened. For the first time, she saw humans not as weak creatures, but as beings with hidden depths, capable of adaptation, endurance, and unexpected strategy. Even the nobles were forced to acknowledge it. "Impossible," one whispered. "He is strong in ways we cannot measure." Elias helped Jarker to his feet politely, bowing slightly. He did not gloat. He did not yell. He simply demonstrated control, calmness, and respect. Lyra realized that her assumptions had been wrong. This human was more than he appeared. He might not be the strongest physically, but his strength lay in observation, adaptation, and patience, qualities many aliens underestimated. As the crowd left the arena, murmurs filled the halls. Humanity's reputation would never be the same in the Jarkal Empire. Aliens began to wonder how many more human strengths remained hidden, waiting to be revealed. That night, as Elias retired to his quarters, Lyra watched him from a distance. He sat quietly, reviewing the day in his mind. She realized that this man, whom she had thought ordinary, might change everything about the way the galaxy viewed humans, and she was both curious and cautious about what would come next. The first challenge had ended, but the real story was only beginning. The human had survived humiliation, proven his calm strength, and revealed the first hint of human potential to an empire that underestimated them. For the queen, for the court, and for the galaxy, the question was clear. Was this man truly ordinary, or had they all been blind to humanity's real power? The morning after the arena challenge, the palace of Jarkal was alive with whispers. Aliens crowded the hallways, still talking about the human, Elias, who had defeated Jarker. Some doubted their own eyes. Others feared that humanity was hiding unknown power. The queen, Lyra, sat in her private chamber, her thoughts racing. She had expected a quiet political marriage, a formal arrangement, a simple alliance. But Elias had shown something unexpected, something she could not yet name. He seemed ordinary, almost fragile, but his calm, precise control over the arena battle hinted at strength far beyond appearance. "Your Majesty," said her aide, lowering his voice, "the Council is concerned. Reports say other alien factions are observing the humans' actions." "They may test him," Lyra nodded, her eyes narrowing. "Let them. If he survives this, he will earn not only our respect but perhaps the respect of the galaxy. I want to see how far he can go." Meanwhile, Elias walked through the palace gardens. The air was crisp, and alien plants with luminous leaves swayed in the breeze. He had not slept much, not from fear but from planning. Every move he made, every word he spoke was measured. Humans were used to surviving against impossible odds, and Elias treated the court as if it were just another challenge to observe. He noticed subtle signs of tension everywhere. Guards shifted uneasily. Courtiers whispered. Even the palace drones seemed alert, scanning for something unusual. To the casual observer, the palace appeared normal, but Elias' trained eyes caught every anomaly. That evening, a formal banquet was announced. The aliens of the court gathered to entertain themselves, planning another attempt to belittle him. This time, the challenge was subtle, a game of strategy designed to humiliate the human. A grand holographic display filled the hall, showing a simulated battlefield. The challenge was clear: command forces against a superior alien army and defend the Queen's palace. The human was given a small contingent, mere hundreds, while the aliens commanded thousands. Everyone assumed the human would fail. "Observe," one general sneered, "and see the weak human crumble." Elias studied the holographic map silently. He did not rush. He noted the terrain, the enemy movements, the predictable patterns in their formation. While the aliens spoke loudly, boasting about their superiority, he only calculated, adjusted, and waited. The simulation began. At first, it seemed hopeless. Alien forces advanced rapidly, flanking the humans' troops. Most would panic, but Elias' soldiers remained steady, inspired not by fear but by his calm presence. He gave simple, clear orders, not shouted commands but precise instructions. "Hold position here, fall back slowly to the ridge, wait for their left flank, then strike." The alien observers laughed at first. "Look at him, he has no strength. How can this human hope to survive?" But then something happened. The human troops, following his orders, began to maneuver with surprising skill. Every movement was calculated, every retreat controlled. What looked like a defeat became a trap for the enemy. Aliens who had mocked him now leaned closer, unable to look away. Elias anticipated the enemy's attacks, countering with minimal losses. He used the environment, forcing the enemy into narrow passes and choke points. What seemed impossible turned into a lesson in patience, intelligence, and endurance. The simulation ended. The humans' forces had won against overwhelming odds. The court fell silent. Aliens who had mocked him now whispered with awe. Some were afraid, others were curious. Lyra's gaze lingered on Elias. "He is extraordinary," she admitted softly to herself. For the first time, she wondered how humans had survived in a galaxy that constantly underestimated them. The next day, reports arrived from the outer palace walls. A faction of alien marauders had gathered near the border of Jarkal space. They had heard of the human and decided to test him, not in simulation but in real combat. They planned to attack the palace at dawn. The court panicked. The generals demanded to know the human strategy. "We are vastly outnumbered," one said. "We cannot withstand them." Elias listened, his calm unchanged. "We will survive," he said simply. "Prepare defenses, organize the troops. Do not panic." The queen watched him closely. She realized that he was not just a soldier, not just a human. He was a natural leader. Aliens had relied on brute strength and intimidation for centuries. Humans relied on calculation, observation, and unity. At dawn, the first ships appeared on the horizon. Dark silhouettes against the morning sun. The palace walls were strong, but the attackers were numerous. The aliens expected chaos to spread quickly. Elias moved among the troops. His presence was calm, steadying, and inspiring. He didn't shout, but his instructions were precise. Hold the gates, cover each section, watch for flanking ships, conserve your energy, wait for my signal. The alien general sneered. He acts like a weak human but somehow commands respect. Ridiculous. When the attackers launched the first assault, the palace defenses reacted quickly. Shields activated, weapons fired, but the attackers adapted. Alien soldiers began to falter, unsure of how to counter. Panic spread. Elias remained in the command tower, observing the battle. He noticed patterns, predictable behaviors in the enemy fleet. They were aggressive but reckless, assuming the humans would crumble. He began to direct defenses with astonishing efficiency. "Move the left cannons forward," he said calmly. "Use the secondary gates as bait. Once they commit, fire." The strategy worked perfectly. Enemy ships were funneled into traps. One by one, they were neutralized, their movements anticipated and countered. Human soldiers, inspired by their leader's calm, followed orders flawlessly. Lyra watched from her balcony, astonished. "I did not know humans could do this," she whispered. Every maneuver, every counterattack, revealed strength she had never seen before. Hours passed. The attackers grew desperate. Their fleet was larger, but the human strategy neutralized their advantage. At no point did Elias act with unnecessary aggression. He used efficiency, calculation, and patience. His troops survived against impossible odds, holding the palace against the marauders. Finally, as the last enemy ship was destroyed, the queen descended to the battlefield. She saw humans tending to their injured soldiers, organizing defenses and maintaining order. She saw Elias standing quietly, observing, unshaken. He had not shouted. He had not boasted. Yet the battle was won. The queen realized something profound. Humans did not dominate through size, claws, or strength alone. They dominated through endurance, intelligence, and unity. Their power was hidden, subtle, and dangerous to underestimate. The court murmured in disbelief. Reports would travel across the empire. Humanity had survived, not by luck, not by brute force, but by skill, patience, and relentless calm. That evening, the queen approached Elias privately. "You have changed everything I believed about humans," she said softly. "I thought you were weak, ordinary, harmless, but today you have shown otherwise." Elias bowed slightly. "I only did what any human would do. We survive, adapt, and protect those we care for. Strength is not always measured by size or claws. Sometimes it is measured by endurance, patience, and clear thinking." Lyra felt a mix of awe and humility. She had underestimated him, underestimated humanity, and underestimated the quiet power of ordinary-seeming beings. For the first time, she saw him as an equal, not just her husband in a political sense, but a protector, a leader, and a human being of extraordinary hidden strength. That night, the palace was quiet. The galaxy had already begun to whisper about the human who had survived impossible odds. Stories would spread, reputations would shift, and the court would never see humanity the same way again. And for Elias, the victory was not about glory. It was about survival, strategy, and proving that even the most underestimated species could stand against the greatest threats the galaxy could send. For the queen, and for the aliens who had mocked him, one truth was now clear. Humans were not weak. They were not ordinary. They were strong in ways no one could anticipate. The next challenge was coming. Somewhere beyond the stars, a new threat would test them further. But now, the galaxy knew underestimating humanity was a mistake no one could afford to make. And for Elias, the calm determination in his eyes promised that no challenge, no matter how impossible, would break him. The sky over the Jarkal Palace darkened with an approaching fleet. Hundreds of alien ships, sleek and deadly, emerged from hyperspace. They surrounded the palace, their intent clear: conquest. Unlike the small skirmishes before, this was a full-scale assault. The humans and palace forces were outnumbered, but Elias remained calm, his dark eyes scanning every ship, every movement, every pattern. Queen Lyra stood on the palace balcony, the golden spires casting long shadows. Her heart pounded, but she did not show fear. She had seen Elias in action before, but nothing had prepared her for the scale of this attack. She whispered to herself, "If anyone can survive this, it is him, but I still do not understand how." The alien fleet opened fire. Lasers cut through the purple sky, striking palace defenses. Explosions erupted, lighting up the walls. Panic threatened to spread among the defenders. Alien generals barked orders, but chaos crept in. Their superior numbers made it easy to overwhelm most armies. Elias stepped onto the command bridge, a calm presence in the eye of the storm. His voice was soft but firm. "Check the shield generators, prioritize the perimeter, focus on small, controlled strikes. Do not waste energy," a general sneered. "You act like a weak human, and yet the palace may fall because of your calm." Elias ignored him. He scanned the incoming ships, predicting their maneuvers before they executed them. He noticed patterns in their formations. Aliens, no matter how technologically advanced, often relied on brute force and predictable tactics. Humans, however, had adapted for survival against impossible odds. "Deploy the secondary interceptors along the northern ridge. Use the magnetic field to slow their approach," he ordered. His soldiers and palace defenders moved with precision, following his strategy without hesitation. Within minutes, the first wave of alien ships collided with the human-directed defenses. Lasers bounced harmlessly off shields. Traps lured enemy ships into narrow zones, where turrets fired with perfect timing. The attackers, confident in their superiority, were caught off guard. One by one, ships were disabled or forced to retreat. Queen Lyra watched from above, astonished. "I have never seen anyone control a battle like this," she murmured. "Not alien, not human, except him." The aliens regrouped. A second, larger wave approached. This time they tried to flank the palace, attacking from multiple directions. Panic spread among the alien generals on the ground. Many thought the palace would fall under the pressure. Elias remained calm. He stepped down from the bridge, walking among his soldiers. "Remember your training. Focus on survival and strategy. Use the terrain. We can win this." His voice carried authority without anger. His calm presence inspired the defenders. Even alien soldiers, skeptical at first, followed his lead. Every move was calculated, every counterattack precise. From the air, Elias deployed drones to jam enemy sensors. From the ground, he positioned barricades and automated turrets. He predicted the enemy's flanking maneuvers and countered them before they could strike. The attackers, for the first time, faced resistance they had not expected. Hours passed. The battle raged across the palace skies. Explosions rocked the walls, but the defenders held. Elias moved with speed and focus, coordinating every strike. His eyes scanned the battlefield, catching even the smallest threats. A massive alien warship broke through the outer shields. Its weapons fired, targeting the palace's main tower. Alarm bells rang. Generals panicked, but Elias did not. He gave a single order: fire the electromagnetic pulse, target the engine core, disable it. Seconds later, the massive warship shuddered and fell, its systems failing. The Queen's eyes widened. "He sees things no one else can," she whispered. Even more shocking was the efficiency of his human reinforcements. Human ships arrived from hidden positions, not flashy but precise. They struck at weak points, disabled enemy ships, and withdrew without losses. Their movements were coordinated, synchronized, almost like a living organism responding to the battlefield. The alien attackers began to falter. Their numbers no longer mattered. Their aggression became reckless. Each step of Elias' strategy turned their strength into weakness. Lyra descended to the battlefield. She moved past wounded soldiers and destroyed turrets, arriving beside Elia's. "I underestimated you," she admitted. "I thought humans were fragile, weak, and yet you survive against impossible odds." Elias looked at her calmly. "Survival is what humans do best. Strength is not always measured by size or weapons. Sometimes it is measured by patience, adaptation, and unity." The queen nodded. She had seen the truth now. Humans were not just another species. They were survivors, leaders, and warriors in ways no alien had imagined. The battle continued into night. Enemy reinforcements arrived, but Elia's strategies anticipated every move. Traps, feints, and calculated counterattacks neutralized the alien advantage. The defenders were inspired by his calm confidence, holding their ground even when the enemy was overwhelming. Finally, the last of the attackers retreated. The battlefield was littered with debris and broken ships, but the palace stood. Human and alien defenders alike looked to Elias, realizing that he had saved not just the palace but the Empire's honor. Lyra approached him once more. She had never knelt before anyone, not even allies. But tonight she knelt, not out of submission, but out of respect. "I misjudged you, humanity. I see now what I did not understand. Humans are not weak. You are extraordinary." Elias bowed politely. "I only did what was necessary to protect. Humans fight to survive and to protect those they care for. That is our true strength." The court and alien generals watched in stunned silence. Many were forced to reconsider everything they thought they knew about humans. Species that had once mocked humanity now spoke in whispers, fearing and respecting them at the same time. The queen took Elia's hand. She realized that he was more than a political ally. He was a partner, a protector, and a symbol of human strength. The marriage, once a formality, had transformed into something far more profound. In the aftermath, the palace began to recover. Repairs were made and injured soldiers were cared for. Stories of Elias' calm leadership spread quickly. Reports would reach every corner of the galaxy, ensuring that humans could never again be dismissed as weak. But Elias did not seek glory. He did not boast. He walked among the soldiers quietly, checking on their welfare, ensuring every injured defender was safe. Strength, he understood, was not about pride. It was about action, endurance, and responsibility. Lyra followed him silently. She had learned a lesson she would never forget. Never underestimate humans. Their resilience, intelligence, and calm determination made them forces no one could ignore. As night fell over the Jarkal Palace, the stars twinkled like distant fires. The human had shown the galaxy that appearances could be deceiving. A seemingly ordinary man could command respect, inspire loyalty, and defeat enemies far stronger and more numerous. And somewhere in the shadows of the galaxy, other alien factions were already reconsidering their plans. Humans were no longer easy prey. They were not fragile. They were survivors, strategists, and warriors in ways that defied understanding. For Queen Lyra, the realization was personal as well. Her husband, once thought ordinary, had revealed his true strength, and she would never see him or his species in the same way again. The day had ended, but a new chapter was beginning. The galaxy had seen what humans could do. And for Elias, the calm determination in his eyes promised that no challenge, no matter how impossible, would ever break him. The Jarkal Palace glimmered in the morning light, its golden spires reflecting the twin suns. The city was calm now, but the echoes of the recent battle still lingered. Repairs were underway, and palace workers moved quickly to restore what had been damaged. Yet the most important change was not in stone or metal. It was in the hearts and minds of the people. Queen Lyra walked through the halls with purpose. Her eyes, usually sharp and commanding, now carried something different: respect, humility, and curiosity. She observed the humans, her soldiers, and the alien defenders alike. Each moved with renewed confidence, inspired by the man who had defended them all. That man, Her husband, Elias, was ordinary in appearance, yet extraordinary in every action. The court gathered for a formal assembly. Nobles, generals, and dignitaries filled the great hall, but today, whispers carried a new tone: admiration, even awe. The events of the past days had shifted the galaxy's perspective on humanity. No longer were humans seen as weak, fragile, or insignificant. They were survivors, leaders, and warriors in ways that few species could comprehend. Elias entered quietly, his presence calm and steady. He wore simple formal attire, unadorned, yet he commanded attention without demanding it. His dark eyes scanned the assembly, noting every gesture, every movement, every subtle expression. Lyra approached him, taking his hand. "Today," she began, her voice steady, "we acknowledge not only your victory but the truth about your species. You have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of. You have changed history." Elias inclined his head. "I did only what humans have always done. We survive, we adapt, and we protect those we care for. Strength is not measured by appearances or weapons, but by endurance, intelligence, and loyalty." A murmur passed through the court. Generals and nobles whispered among themselves, some nodding in agreement, others in disbelief. Aliens who had mocked humanity now looked on with respect, even fear. The human presence had reshaped their understanding. Lyra continued, "For too long we have underestimated humans, but today we see clearly. Their strength is not obvious, but it is undeniable. Their courage, patience, and intelligence are unmatched in the galaxy." The Queen raised her hand, calling for silence. "Let it be known across all systems that humanity is no longer to be dismissed or mocked. They are allies, protectors, and a force to be respected." Elias looked around the hall. He saw soldiers who had followed him without question, aliens who had once doubted, and the Queen, who now understood the full measure of human capability. A small smile crossed his face, not of pride, but of quiet satisfaction. Reports began to arrive from distant systems. Traders, scouts, and diplomats shared news of the battle and the humans' leadership. Across the galaxy, species that had once treated humanity as insignificant now whispered with caution. Humans were survivors. Humans were clever. Humans were strong. In the palace gardens, Lyra and Elias walked side by side. The air was filled with the scent of alien flowers and the soft hum of palace drones. She turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "I misjudged you," she said softly. "I thought you were fragile, ordinary, harmless, but you have shown me something I did not expect. You have shown me the true strength of humanity." Elias smiled faintly. "It is not only my strength, it is the strength of all humans. We endure hardships that others cannot imagine. We adapt to worlds that seem impossible. We protect those we care for, even at great risk." The Queen nodded, absorbing his words. She realized that humans were not simply another species to be controlled or observed. They were partners, allies, and equals. Their power was not flashy or brutal. It was quiet, enduring, and impossible to underestimate. Days later, the galaxy officially recognized humanity's contributions. Ambassadors from distant systems arrived to pay respects. Alliances were formed, treaties signed, and trade agreements negotiated. The once overlooked human species now stood at the forefront of galactic politics, respected for their courage and intelligence. Lyra watched as Elias directed negotiations with calm authority. He spoke simply, clearly, and effectively, earning trust and respect without ever raising his voice. Aliens who had doubted him were now convinced that humans were a force to be reckoned with. In private, Lyra admitted her newfound understanding. "I married you thinking it was a formality, a political arrangement. But now I see that you are more than that. You are extraordinary, not in ways I can measure, but in ways that matter most." Elias looked at her, his calm expression unwavering. "I do what humans have always done. We survive, adapt, and protect. That is all." Yet she knew it was far more than that. He had changed the course of history, reshaped the galaxy's perception of humanity, and earned respect through quiet strength and unshakable resolve. The people of Jarkal Palace began to see humans in a new light. Soldiers who had doubted, generals who had mocked, and citizens who had ignored them now admired their intelligence, endurance, and leadership. Humanity had proven that appearances were not the measure of strength. In the following weeks, the Queen organized a ceremony to honor the defenders of the palace. Humans and aliens alike were recognized for their courage. Elias stood beside her, humble yet commanding respect simply by being present. Lyra addressed the assembly. Today, we celebrate not only the victory of our palace but the revelation of true strength. Let this be a lesson to all: never underestimate humanity. Their endurance, intelligence, and loyalty make them forces unlike any other in the galaxy. A cheer rose from the assembly, echoing through the halls and into the city beyond. The message was clear: humans were no longer to be underestimated. They were survivors, leaders, and equals in a galaxy that had once dismissed them. After the ceremony, Lyra and Elias stood together on the palace balcony. The twin suns set behind them, casting golden light across the city. She looked at him, her eyes filled with respect and admiration. "You have changed everything," she said softly. Elias smiled faintly. "I only did what humans always do. We survive, we endure, we protect those we care for." Lyra nodded, understanding the deeper truth. Humans did not rely on brute strength or fear to dominate. They relied on perseverance, intelligence, and unity. Their power was subtle but undeniable. The Queen realized that she had chosen not only a husband but a partner who embodied the best of humanity. In Elias, she saw courage, strategy, and quiet strength. She had been mistaken before, but now she understood. Humans were extraordinary in ways no alien could have anticipated. Across the galaxy, whispers turned into recognition. Humanity's reputation grew, not because of conquest or aggression, but because of survival, intelligence, and leadership. Systems that had once ignored or dismissed humans now sought alliance, wary of their true potential. In the quiet of the palace, Lyra and Elias walked through the gardens. The air was peaceful, the battle long past, yet the memory of struggle lingered. She turned to him and said, "I thought humans were ordinary. I was wrong. You have shown me what true strength is." Elias looked at her calmly. "Strength is not always loud or visible. Sometimes it is quiet, patient, and enduring. Humans have survived where others failed. That is our power." Lyra smiled, realizing the depth of his words. She had witnessed the truth firsthand. Humans were not to be underestimated. They were resilient, clever, and unstoppable when united. The Queen had learned an invaluable lesson: appearances could be deceiving. Humility, intelligence, and endurance often mattered more than brute force. In Elias, she had found a partner who embodied all of these qualities, a living example of humanity's hidden strength. The galaxy would never forget what had happened at Jarkal Palace. Humanity's reputation had been transformed forever. From a species once underestimated and mocked, humans had risen to prominence through courage, intelligence, and unwavering calm. As night fell over the palace, Elias and Lyra stood together, gazing at the stars. Somewhere in the distance, the galaxy watched, whispering tales of the human who had survived impossible odds and changed the course of history. The Queen knew one thing for certain: she would never underestimate humans again. Their strength was real, enduring, and extraordinary. And she would stand beside them, not above them, not ahead of them, but as an equal partner, witnessing a species that had finally shown the galaxy what it truly meant to be human. The stars above shimmered with possibility. Humanity had revealed its true strength. The galaxy had seen it, and from this day forward no one would ever doubt what humans were capable of. The day had ended, the battle won, and the lesson clear: humans were not fragile. They were survivors. They were leaders. They were extraordinary. And in Elia's, the Queen had seen it all firsthand. The galaxy would never forget the day humanity revealed itself.